Hi, Kevin. How are you? I haven't seen you in a while. I see here that you are still doing great with the non-smoking. That's awesome. Um, what else do you have new? Okay, you have gained 20 pounds in the last 12 months, and you continue with your high stress job as a police officer. Thank you for what you do. You're still taking eating out a lot. Unfortunately, those foods contain a lot of carbohydrates and fats and a lot of sodium added to them. How's your activity level? Okay, you're still not exercising. Perfect. Now your new symptom, you're having shortness of breath when you climb stairs. Okay. Do you remember when we talked about when we first met what hypertension is, right? So it's that pressure that your heart has to push the blood out of the heart so it can flow all throughout your body and bring oxygen and nutrients throughout your body to every single cell, correct? So the top number is when your heart is contracting, which is like when it's pressure, putting pressure on everything so all the blood can come out. And flow through your body. And then the lower bottom is the pressure when the heart is relaxed, correct? So in your case, your heart is working much harder than it should be. That's why it's considered high blood pressure, meaning your heart is working much, much harder to get the blood throughout your body and make sure that you get all the oxygen that your cells need and all the nutrients. And also, as it flows back into your heart to be sent to your lungs, then it's actually picking up all the waste products and that end up in your liver, your kidneys to get rid of, and your lymphatic system, correct? So now, in your case, you have something that we call or we recognize as primary or essential hypertension, which is something that we cannot identify the cause of it. Most likely it's related to your genes, as in your parents both had hypertension. Unfortunately, this is an condition that develops over time, and it's usually very silent until you start developing symptoms and it's already caused damage throughout your other systems and other organs. There's another type which is called secondary, which is actually a sudden increase in your blood pressure. It's usually unstable, and it's usually caused by things like drugs, illicit drugs, or cough medicine, or steroids, or birth control pills, or hormones. And these are also caused by part of our system that controls our metabolism and things like that, like your thyroid, or your kidneys, or your parathyroid. So unfortunately, these are things that are harder to tell when they could have an onset, and it's harder to control. So many times they have to use more than just one medication to control secondary hypertension. Either hypertension, usually primary, will end up in complications if it's not controlled, and that would be the complicated hypertensions when your organs are affected because you've had hypertension for so long and you haven't been able to control it. Your cardiovascular system would be probably the first one to be affected by it because your heart is working so much harder. It ends up developing more fibers, and it ends up getting enlarged like any other muscle. When you work it too hard, then it grows, right? So it could cause other issues with the size of your heart and how fibrous it becomes. It's less elastic, it has more difficulty, and it's less efficient when it's pushing all that blood out. It can also cause damage to the blood vessels, not just the big ones, but the tiny ones that need to make sure that they get all that oxygen and nutrients into the cells and pick up all that stuff that needs to be taken out of your system. So when those blood vessels are thickened because they have to put up with all that pressure that we give in it, it's like a wall. You keep hitting it and hitting it. So it has to become very hard to take up all that pressure. So it becomes less elastic and it's less efficient. In that case, it could develop things like atherosclerosis, and that narrowing could cause complications down the road, as in like it could develop thrombus, and they could go in different places in your body, causing more damage, like a stroke if it goes to your brain, pulmonary embolisms if it goes to your lungs, or even a heart attack if it ends up in one of those tiny little arteries that go around, making sure that your heart has enough blood to pump and to continue working. Unfortunately, it can also happen in the tiny little vessels that take care of filtrating your blood in your kidneys. So if they become hardened, then your kidneys become very inefficient doing their job, and you could end up with kidney failure or kidney disease. The same thing can happen in your eyes, and you could have little hemorrhages in your eyes that could cause the loss of your sight. It could also, same thing, it could also cause erectile dysfunction. And also, like I said, the peripheral artery disease, that would be a generalized problem throughout your body, making your circulatory system very inefficient and complicate a lot of things for you. The most significant information that I can give you is how it pertains to your habits. One of the things that could lead to hypertension is smoking, and you already gave it up. You proved to yourself that you can make a big change. I know that giving up cigarettes is very hard, and you did it. So let's take it a step at a time. There are things that you cannot control. You cannot control your age. As the older we get, the more likely it is for us to develop hypertension. Your race, African Americans and Hispanics, tend to have a higher prevalence of developing hypertension. A family history, we cannot change your genes. So unfortunately, both your parents developed hypertension, and both your parents passed away from complications. We don't want you to have to go there. So now we have so many things that we can do to help you prevent complications. Unfortunately, physical inactivity, we need to tackle that. We're going to have to find ways for you to include physical activity. The recommendations is 150 minutes during a week, whether you do it 30 minutes 5 times a week, or if you do 50 minutes 3 times a week, however you want to put it. But let's increase your activity. Let's try to do a little exercise, even if you'll start by walking the dog for half an hour every evening. That could also help you decrease stress. Stress is something that can cause hypertension, and we need to help you cope with stress and find ways to decrease your stress. I know what you do is super important, and we are so grateful for what you do, but we need to make sure that we learn to deal with that. As nurses, we also go through this kind of stress, and we need to learn to take care of ourselves so we can take care of others. You could develop sleep apnea, which it would cause more trouble for you. And you could also cause insulin resistance, which your mother developed diabetes type 2. So we want to make sure that you don't develop this diabetes as well. Another thing that we need to try to work on is decreasing the number of beers you've been taking every day. I'm not going to say don't drink, but let's try to cut it down. You said several. Is that 3, 4, 5? Let's try to reduce it to 2. That would actually have a huge impact on you. So let's try to work on how we can help you decrease the risk of developing atherosclerosis. There's a few things we can do. When you have atherosclerosis, you can narrow the way that your blood is flowing through your veins, correct? This narrowing can also make with the fat that you are obviously eating a lot of fried food. It could also cause cholesterol clots, and those could either cause backup of the blood and develop blood clots, or they could even, as they get together, and then all of a sudden they break off, either the plaques of fat or the little clots that develop, and they could travel throughout your body, causing, like I said, stroke, heart attack, pulmonary embolism, kidney failure. And also that is associated with the onset of diabetes, like your mom. So whatever step we can take to decrease or to prevent the progression of your complications will give you more time to do things with your family, and hopefully travel like you want to. Having either a heart attack, a stroke, or pulmonary embolism could complicate your life to the point where you could even unfortunately lose your battle, or it could cause more complications for your family. If, let's say, you ended up with a stroke and now you can't work and they have to take care of you. All right. We are going to, like I said, let's reduce the amount of salt. Let's try to switch every time you eat out. Let's try to take a little bit out. I'm not going to say don't eat any salt or any fat, but let's reduce that in half and include vegetables, fresh vegetables, and fresh fruit. Okay, so you feel satisfied. Let's get that exercise in. Either do a competition, do a challenge with your partners at your other police officers. Let's see who can hold a plank longer, and whoever can hold it for 4 minutes or something, or the loser has to do something. Something fun, but also make it, the research shows that when people compete, sometimes they're more successful at keeping up with their exercise routines. While doing exercise and changing your eating habits will definitely have an effect on losing weight. Let's not concentrate on losing weight just for losing weight. Let's concentrate on doing things that will, as a side effect, help you lose weight. All right. Let's try to reduce your stress and learn to cope. And that exercise is most likely going to help you with releasing all that tension that you most likely have from working. Let's see, what times do you work night shift? Do you work during the day? Does it change? We're going to try to do, there's a blood pressure test that we can do, that you can do at home. Unfortunately, the one that I wanted to do for you, 24 hours to 48 hours with a special monitor that you would take home, and it would take your blood pressure consecutively at night and during the day. It's usually not covered by insurance, so I'm not going to do that to you. I understand what's the point of adding more. It could cost up to $4,000. So we're not going to do that. You can go online. There's a website called validatebp.org. And there's a list there of blood pressure monitors that you can then look online to see where you can get them from, Amazon, whatever. It doesn't matter where you get it from, but make sure that it's actually approved by the American Medical Association and the American Heart Association. They have a list there that you can look up. It's validatebp.org. And then you can see the names, and then you can look it up and buy it. They range from $24 to over $100. So you can get whatever. And you're going to make a little list for 7 days. So that kind of shows an average of how your life goes. And you're going to do 2 or 3 between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. And then 2 or 3 between 1 p.m. and 10 p.m. Make sure that you do it always the same place in your arm. Make sure you rest about 30 minutes prior to measuring. Empty your bladder and avoid caffeine 30 minutes before. And you can write down what you're doing. Let's say you had breakfast, or you didn't have breakfast, or you had to do it before you went to work, things like that. But try to be calm so it actually takes the actual blood pressure. We're going to do averages of those, and that would help us figure out how all these little changes we're making actually have an effect on your blood pressure. All right. So I hope to hear from you. You can send it to me via my chart. Okay.